Hank's spirit and who Hank was to that team and to this university is still, in a fundamental way, I think, alive and well. And that's the spirit of Hank Gathers.
Yes, I'm very familiar with Hank. I mean, he's everywhere on this campus. They talk about him a lot. He built up a great legacy. So, I mean, this year I'm a captain of my team, so I feel like I'm trying to lead my team like he did.
I've definitely heard of Hank Gathers before, and he's kind of like a role model, I guess, and sets a standard to live up to at LMU.
Yeah, because, I mean, he set such a high standard, because anytime you hear of LMU, all you hear about is Hank. Nobody really remembers what we've done, really. So it's the pressure of us to really put our name out there. So whenever we talk about LMU outside, not the only thing they'll remember is Hank Gathers. They'll be like, I remember the 2012, 2013 team too, you know, stuff like that, because it's been Hank's house for like 20 years now.
Unfortunately, we don't have a good home record. So, I mean, that plays against us for some odd reason. But, I mean, living up to Hank, no, I wouldn't say it's pressure. No, I wouldn't say.
They always bring up the legacy of Hank and that team before games, before big games, before like big occasions at the school, because the school is very proud of that team, I guess. So, yeah.
Hank Gathers was really a kind of one-of-a-kind character. He was completely full of himself in every positive way. He was ambitious. He was larger than life. He really had big plans for his life. And he was a funny guy. He was very supportive of his friends. And he was the kind of spark plug for the team. And so Hank would have stood out in my memory even if his life hadn't ended in the tragic way that it did, because he was a special kind of student and he was a remarkable athlete. I would like the world to remember Hank Gathers as the ball of energy that he was, a young man who was full of ambition, who believed in himself, who thought he was capable of great things, and who realized a lot of his ambitions while he was here on the Bluff. And Hank Gathers was a funny, sweet, talented guy, and he lived a full life. And he enjoyed what he did, and his love for everything that he did was clear. It was a magic season, and it was the high point of basketball at LMU for all kinds of reasons. We had a remarkable coach who was special in all kinds of different ways. And when Paul Westhead came to LMU, he had a system that he wanted to run, and it was a run and gun approach to basketball. It was the fastest, craziest, most mad kind of basketball you will ever see before or since. And so consequently, we were running other teams into the ground. In Hank's last game, on that day, one of our children was sick. And so the question was, who would stay home and who would get to go to the game? And my husband and I made an executive decision and said, well, if not all of you can go to the game, then we think none of you should go to the game. So all of our children stayed home that night. And we were never more glad that we made that decision than we were when we were driving home. Because it was a tragic situation, but it was also the conclusion to something that was really wonderful. At the memorial service we had on campus for Hank, someone said, give a cheer for Hank in his house. And there was a kind of noise, people pounding their feet on the benches and clapping their hands and screaming. There was a kind of noise in Gersten Pavilion that I have never heard since that day, decades later. That team was here doing something with all kinds of heart and with a special commitment And Hank was at the center of it, but Hank wasn't all of it. It was a whole team of people who were doing something remarkable. And after Hank's death, in the elimination rounds at the NCAA finals, you could tell that this team was playing for Hank. So if other students could see themselves in Hank and capture some of his energy and his spirit, it would be something remarkable because that's who he was. He was a really great guy.